I started, and like 2 weeks later, she walked through the door. So, DeVawn, tell us, when did you get licensed?
1 year before that.
Okay, and what happened in the year prior to that?
It was a disaster. So I initially was with EXP, and for a new agent, first of all, I didn't know anything, even though in school they said, you know, interview and check out different companies, but you don't know what you don't know. So I could have interviewed 100 companies and it all would have sounded the same to me. So there was a friend I really trusted, and he said, oh, you know, you should try EXP. And I come from a training background and education, and I'm kind of an education junkie, so I really thought that EXP would have that because of the, I don't even know, you become this avatar, and for anybody that's familiar with EXP, and you walk into this, you're like in a gaming situation almost right on the computer, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's all these classes. But I was really looking for mentorship in addition to that. So I spent a lot of wasted time. So I joined EXP under a certain person, and then I decided I didn't want to be under that person because they weren't giving me any mentorship. Then you have to leave. So then I went to MVP to leave for whatever time I think you have to leave for 6 months, then you go back to EXP and sign under somebody else. It was a crazy time. But anyways, I didn't even make it that far. And during that time, I think I did one deal. So it was just, I want to say wasted time, but maybe not, because it taught me all the things I shouldn't have done. And so then I was turned on to KW, and really, Katie was a big part of that, because, you know, I really wanted somebody I had access to all the time for that mentorship. But I always knew I had read all the KW books. So it's crazy, even when I was so I come from the beauty industry, I own salons and beauty schools, and I had already read all the books. Like The One Thing, I had read that on my own accord for my beauty schools. So it's crazy to me that I didn't come to KW to start, because it really is, because I knew like this is where every agent should start. There's just way more support, way more education, and if you can't do it here, then you're definitely going to struggle somewhere else.
So she came in when we didn't have a productivity coach right away, and so we were kind of running a mentor thing. So I took her under my wing and was like, "Listen, I'll take care of you. We'll get." I will say, you don't require a lot of maintenance though. Like she figures it out. Like she went and did a lot of education and really figured out a lot. I was more of there for when she had a fall, and she's like, help, I need to put this
an
back
industry
together.
question.
An
Really.
industry question, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how do I handle this kind of thing? So when you say that there was things that you didn't do right that first year, what things did you try that just didn't work for you?
Well, I didn't really try much, because I wasn't led to, I mean, besides sphere of influence, I would say that's the only thing I knew how to do. I didn't know the importance of open houses, and I didn't have that connection. There wasn't a lot of availability, so it's just very different. Didn't have access to a team like this or an office like this, so I couldn't jump into open houses. There was like, the way EXP works is there's an upline and kind of like an MLM, like a multi-level marketing. So it was kind of like I just had that small group, and there wasn't a lot going on there, so I didn't do much.
Okay. How did you get that first transaction?
It was for my neighborhood.
Okay, all right, so that's immediately when it started, that you started getting that traction. That was
Well, I
very
realized,
hard.
yes, so I had done, I think maybe 2 deals before I got here, in total. But then I realized, ooh, my neighborhood is where it's coming from.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, so this is where it started. This is the snowball. So this is what's really cool, is you have the ability to build your business in so many different ways. And we always tell you, make sure you have 3 buckets of business, right? Go deep in 3 different things. You don't need to have 10 ways to generate business. You need 3 really good ways to generate business. And so what DeVawn has developed is farming.
Yes.
So, oh, Stacy.
So I took a class, one of my very first classes was with Stacy Verhoeven, and she brought out all the stops. She showed me all her flyers. She did an excellent class.
Maybe
And
we should have you.
Yeah, for sure. And I did exactly what she said, but I can tell you in the beginning, when I first signed up with KW, I was here 4 days a week. Unfortunately, a little ways into that, I was diagnosed with cancer, so I haven't been around for a while. But those first couple months, I just lived, I was here all the time. And the other thing I wanted to say, I was like, oh, I hope she asks me this, but if she doesn't, I'm gonna say it anyway. It's very hard to do this part-time. When I had an income, so I still had my beauty school up north, when I still had an income, it was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll do it. And I think this was part of my first year too, why I didn't produce so much. I still had a, what do you say?
A safety net.
Safety net.
Hold on, real quick,
I had a
have
safety net.
disclaimer. I did not tell her to say all this. She's like, really, like, I swear, but go ahead, sorry.
No, I did have a safety net, so it was easier to know like, oh, okay, well, if I don't make a deal, it's like I still have a salary coming. And then once I didn't, I knew like, oh my God, this, I have to do everything in my power to make this work. This is my new career, period, this is it. So I will say it is a struggle if you're, and I understand financially, it's hard to do that, to just take that jump. I understand, and trust me, I was in a real financial predicament. But the second I decided to do that full time, this is all I did, 40 hours a week, is really when things started happening. And it does snowball, for sure.
So a lot of consistency.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, because I said, if she says to me about consistency, I'm gonna say, yeah, consistency is important, but what's more important is follow through.
Okay.
And I see so many people not have follow through. So somebody said earlier, oh, I have these buyers, you know, and I said, oh, do you have did they sign with you, right? So that you have them as a client? Well, I wanna get them to know me and, you know, right? And so I wanna say to you, no, this is follow through, this is seizing, and I understand that my background, I come from business, you seize that opportunity. I also have somebody that's working with a buyer that was like, oh, well, should I have followed up sooner, and like lost a sale on a house because they went into contract without her buyer putting in. So if I could say anything, follow through is a big problem that I see even when I coached my beauty school girls. You can be consistent all you want. If you're not following through with all of the steps, then it doesn't matter. Your consistency to me was a waste of time. And then seizing that moment. I mean, I had this amazing commission for me because I'm like newbie, right? So it was like I got both sides of the transaction, but I only got that because I met a guy in an open house and he's like, oh, I love this house, but you know, I gotta sell my condo. And I'm like, all right, well, what's stopping you from putting an offer on this house? Well, the condo. I said, okay, let's put it for sale, like instantly. And I think some people are apprehensive to jump to that next level. Like, I just
like,
met
I can
him.
feed my family, so.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I need money, so we're doing this. So, and I found this even in my beauty school. There was two, if you know what estheticians are, they do skincare, right? I had two start at the same time, and this is 20 years ago. One made 50 grand her first year right out of the gate. The other one barely made, I think, 15. And I said, what is the difference between these two? Because you want producers, right, in a salon. And her hang up, and I see it in this industry as well, I think any industry with sales, is you thinking you know what the client is thinking and making that mistake that, well, they might not want that, or they might not want to do business with me, or they may not think I'm seasoned, or whatever the case. You need to get your mindset out of that. You don't know what that client wants, okay? As far as, like when I had proposed to him, all right, let's sell the condo. He needed me to suggest that to take the jump. And I say that because going back to that example of my two girls, one would sell packages, okay? So we had 6 facials, and every client that came in for a facial, she sold a package to. And my other girl said, well, I would never spend money on that. She couldn't sell it because she couldn't see herself doing that.
Yes.
But this is, I see this, or when people say, well, how did you have so much success? Because I don't have that mindset. I don't stop there and pretend to know what they want or what they're gonna do. I go for it. The worst thing they can do is reject me. He could have said, no, it's too early to sell my condo. I'm not ready. Okay, but he didn't. Instead, we were on the market the following week, and I had him buy my listing. So had I never said anything, like, what's stopping you? Then it would have never happened.
Yep.
So-
So you hear it all the time. The money's in the follow-up, the money's in the follow-up, the money's in the follow-up. And I was just talking to Jenna here, and she was telling me she's having a lot of success with the open houses right now and getting people coming through and converting buyers out of that. And, I'm like, are they signed? Like, that's the next step, like, are they signed? Because they're not yours till they're signed, right?
Yes.
So, and in the meantime, they're going to other open houses. And somebody else is gonna say, oh, you wanna work together, and sign them, and then you lose them. So, and here's the thing, I say lose it, but you don't lose anything you didn't have. So you can't lose it if they never signed with you, right?
And some won't. I had, my personal house was for sale, and I had a couple come in and they didn't have a realtor, and they said, yeah, this is how we like it. They were probably never gonna sign with anybody, so it's not always going to be that easy, but
But you gotta take a chance.
you have to take a chance. And I think the biggest thing is mindset, like holding yourself up from what you think they will say. You don't know.
You're right, you don't know. And people surprise you. They say things and you go, oh, I never really thought. Yeah. You also look at people and judge and think, there's no way they can buy this $1 million house. So guess what?
Well,
They
and
can.
they said, oh, we're not gonna buy until, late December. I said, okay, and even though they said that, I thought, not if they find the right house. And they had already found the right house, but the problem was, oh gosh, what's next? Like, they haven't sold anything or bought anything in 8 years, so it was almost like, oh, where do we even start? And sometimes you have to be that person, so, I mean, I think everybody knows that, but the biggest hang up I see is, not seizing the opportunity, right in that moment, not waiting. And we used to say in the beauty industry, because it's very similar, you have to build your book of business. And we'd say, you spend so much time getting ready, right? Like, oh, my business cards have to be perfect, and my website has to be perfect. And I used to be that person. I want everything aesthetically, because I come from an aesthetic industry, I want everything aesthetically perfect. And in this industry, and maybe it was because sink or swim, I either had no money or I was gonna have money, I didn't wait to get ready. I just did it. I just started doing all the things that those classes and the dream team taught me a lot of things. I did everything they told me to, and didn't look back. I didn't even know, well, hopefully it works. It wasn't even, it was like I have nothing to lose. So yeah, I can't say that enough.
Okay, all right, so now take us into, you took Stacy's plan for farming and you implemented. What does your plan for farming look like?
So there's so many flyers that were coming into my neighborhood and so many advertisements because it's a newer neighborhood and seasoned agents know, jump on that new neighborhood, right? So I thought, how am I going to like stand out? How is this gonna happen? And so part of it was hosting things. One, I own a Facebook page in the community, and I bring value to that page. I also would host bunko, wine tastings, and I'm a connector. I'm just that person. Oh, you need somebody, or oh, you would love to meet her. She loves, supplements and holistic living. I know you guys would get along. So really submerging myself into the community, and then I sent out a flyer that had, and I thought, well, how is mine gonna be different? Because a lot of times the flyers I was getting, and I learned this from Stacy too, because she would do things that had value. They're like, oh, sold, and it's all about them, right? And so instead I tried to, it was the holiday, my very first flyer, and on one side, yes, I did the classic cliche of giving a cinnamon roll recipe. But on the other side, there was all of the dates for all of the holiday festivities. I didn't even say a thing about me. And to be honest, what was I gonna say? I hadn't sold anything but one house, I think. So what in that neighborhood? So what was I gonna brag about anyhow? And this is what I mean about getting ready to get ready. I could have said, oh, I can't send a flyer out right now because I don't have any business. What would I look like? But you always want to appear bigger than you are. And I learned that even in the beauty industry. I started out with like 1,000 square foot building or space, but we had an automated phone line that was like press 1 to get to the admissions director. We were 900 square feet. Like we did not need all that, but I learned in that industry, appear bigger than you are. So me sending out that flyer, nobody knew I didn't sell but one house in there. I looked like I was somebody, and that I brought value. So a few people had said they had kept that around because they wanted to remember what the dates were. And then I can say that probably my best, and I put a lot of money into this, and I kept going back to her, but I just wanted, oh my god. You told me it would come back to me.
I did, I said I'd come back to you, but I go, I maybe dial your budget down a little.
Yes, she did say that. I did send,
what?
but I sent,
Dial that budget down a little.
I sent a package to my neighborhood, and I got everybody involved, asking them, you know, does anybody offer services? Would you like to be a part of this vendor list? So that got people to know my name. And so, yes, of course, free advertising, they wanna be on the vendor list. And then I did a magnet, and I feel like the magnet was the clincher, because people still had my magnet. So the magnet had, like FPL and, you know, all of the numbers that you would need to reach as a new homeowner. I forget, whatever, Comcast, whatever all the utility companies are. That and it cost me a fortune, this little idea of mine. So I don't know that you need to do that, but the magnet was key. And a friend of mine actually said that she had gotten a magnet with, like, they were Bulls fans, and they had all the dates for the season. So different things that will force them to, like, keep your
You can do the
stuff.
school schedule, like.
School schedule, yeah.
School schedule, and then this is like what you can, you know, these are all the dates. And if you're older, you keep it, cause you wanna know, when am I gonna have kids running around here that I need to avoid, or when am I gonna not do certain things?
Yeah.
So even though older people care about the school schedule, cause they wanna know when their neighborhood's gonna be full of kids when they're out of school.
Yeah.
All right, so you did that.
Mhm.
What kind of response did you get after you sent that out?
I got turned into my HOA.
Ah, okay.
Because that
all right.
was so offensive that I gave somebody a magnet and a vendor sheet, so that was awesome.
You
Yeah,
mailed
I
it
got
to
that
them?
phone call, how do I handle this?
You mailed it to them?
I mailed it to them. And it cost me like $2.50 a mailer. Like, when I tell you I made so many mistakes on these, she was like, oh my gosh. Thankfully, I did get it back, but I did everything wrong. But yeah, I mailed it to them. And she walked right into this, whoever it was, walked right into the HOA and said, you know, this is soliciting. You know, I could have hand delivered it if I wanted, because I'm a neighbor. How is that soliciting? So, that was the first response. And then I was like, oh, like a punch in my gut, like I spent
And
all
what did I
this
tell
money
you?
and.
What did I tell you? When you called me, you're like, oh my god, my HOA is down my throat, what am I gonna do? What did I tell you?
I forget.
I said, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't
I just know
matter.
you consoled
Yeah.
me, and I was like, okay.
She's like, what, am I gonna get in trouble? And I said, who cares? The HOA cannot punish you for mailing something to somebody's house. So, but I can tell you, you ruffled some agents' feathers because they wish they would have done that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so she did something that other people wish they would have been first to do, and she did it instead.
Yeah.
So, okay, so now when did the first piece of business, not the first piece of business that you did, but after all of that, when did the first business start to come in?
Like time wise? Oh, I would say not even maybe a month.
Okay, a month later, and how did they get to you?
They emailed me.
Oh, okay, that's unique. They emailed you, what was their question?
They'd like to list their house, and they wanted to choose me.
That's
Yes,
it.
that was the easy one.
No
I mean, that was like,
No appointment, just come
I did an
list.
appointment, yeah.
But just come list.
yeah, I didn't have to sell myself. you know.
Okay.
They did know my husband, so
Okay.
I will say that was a factor too. My husband does tile and backsplashes, and so he had done their backsplash. But he didn't have a relationship with them, like he kinda went in, did the work. But I do think it helped that our names were associated and they liked him.
Okay,
Yeah, and then they see my stuff around the neighborhood, you know what I mean? Is my guess.
yeah, okay, and then what came after that one?
Remember the one I was interviewing for like 3 months? There was somebody who said, oh, we think we'd like to list with you, but we're interviewing like 3 other agents, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get this one. But I called Katie and I said, tell me exactly what I need to do, because it was almost like a personal challenge, like whether I got the listing or not, but like, anyway, so that was the second one, and I did get it, and then I called her right away, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna celebrate, I can't believe, like out of 3 agents. And really what came of that is, because this went on for 3 or 4 months, and I would just check in, I gave them the information that they wanted. A lot of agents were holding back, and we're in a place where you can get information immediately, right? Like, they say this even with car sales. By the time somebody walks into the dealership, they already know what car they're buying. So I didn't withhold too much information, because I knew that that was what he was looking for, and that's essentially what got me, the listing, is because I wasn't like, well, we have to meet in person, you have to kind of know your audience, right? And I knew he wanted something from me before he was even gonna interview me, so I still did have to interview, and I had just like done chemo, so I like had, you know, my hair in a wrap, and I thought, oh my God, they're not gonna pick me, they're probably gonna think I'm gonna die. So I really thought that. I was like, I don't think they're gonna want me because they don't know when I'm gonna expire.
She called me and said that, by the way.
Yeah, I did. I was like, why do they want me? They don't even know like my condition. But they chose me, and it was an amazing personal win because it wasn't a referral, it wasn't an association with my husband. I definitely think it was the farming in the neighborhood, and they heard my name, but it was amazing to win that listing over 2 other seasoned agents. And they even had gone as far as to sign a listing contract with one of the agents and paid him his, you know, like the buyout fee if you cancel. Yeah, the cancellation fee. They paid him, I think $1,000. They chose not to work with him. Like once they started working with him, they realized, and he's not a bad agent, but it just wasn't for them. And so they wanted, you know, somebody who was they have a daughter who's on the spectrum, and she had lots of stuffed animals, and they didn't want to have to put away all the stuff in the pictures, but there's 5 bedrooms. So I said, we don't even need to take a picture of that room. I mean, if that's how she needs it and that's how it needs to stay, that's okay. So anyways, that was a huge personal win because I was up against 2 seasoned realtors.
So there's a lot of opportunities for people to have all these like limiting beliefs and things to show up to prevent you. Like some people would say, oh, I'm going up against 2 agents, there's no way I'm gonna win, so I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and I really thought, like, after I felt like they ghosted me, but they just weren't ready to list. So I was shocked when they're like, oh, we'd love to meet you in person and continue the process. I was shocked, but.
So they like 2 days after chemo.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, all right, so now, fast forward, you've completed, how many in there, 6 now, in there? Is it 6 listings in there, 5 listings, how many listings have you had right now?
I should know that.
You should.
I'm pretty sure 6.
Yeah. And what's the word in the neighborhood now that you're battling? What are you hearing? What happened at the pool?
Oh, yes. I call her like in crisis. I mean, I don't even know if it's like mentorship as it is like, hello.
Therapy.
Therapy, yeah. So I caught wind, somebody had said to me, I was actually at the open house, what was it called? What did we call it, Haley? Splash the village?
Yeah.
Soak up the village.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, I did this little event, and I met a woman at one of the open houses, and she said, first she got to know me, and then by the time we had another meeting, we actually talked on the phone. She said, yeah, I wanted to tell you that I met somebody at the pool who was talking about you, and they were saying how, oh yeah, not everybody likes her because she sells houses under market value. And I guess the husband chimed in and said, well, that's not her fault. Like, they get it to accept the offer, like at least somebody had common sense. So anyways, she came back to me and said, I think you're a lovely person. And I don't know, maybe she felt sorry for me, I'm not sure. But I said, I definitely was taken back, like, wow, okay. Is that the reputation I have in this community? I was a little disheartened by that because the houses that I did sell, one was a divorce sale and they needed it sold immediately. And I sold it, and he was propositioning me with all these, like, I'll give you an extra percent and then an extra percent for this. Oh, and I'll give you gift cards. Like, he just wanted it sold. I sold it in 1 week and I did my job. That's what he wanted. So I was so taken back by that comment because I thought, and there was another couple who wanted to move to Venice, and it was just like, sell our house, and they still got good money, but at the end of the day, I sold their house in a timely fashion, so it was disheartening that people were saying, oh, she sells under value. Well, I don't know, do you know the market we're in right now? And my particular neighborhood, we're competing with the builders, so the builders are giving crazy incentives. I just accepted an offer on my house, and I'm like, cringe over it, it's just disgusting, but they're gonna be building for the next 2 years, so I can either accept it or not. But anyways, it was disheartening for sure, but I just had to stay focused on the people that I sold on their behalf were thrilled and were so happy that they were even able to get out of the neighborhood. especially with all the new construction.
So, see, this is like getting over and not attaching, your own feelings to what other people are saying. Cause along the way, you've had a few opportunities where it's like, I could just quit, right? Like, it'd be easier to just quit.
Oh, I called her, I'm like, do you think everyone is saying this about me? She's like, no, probably not.
And even if they were, they're still picking you.
Yeah, yeah.
So, they're still picking you because they know it's gonna get sold. So, you're up against people who aren't selling.
Yeah.
So,
I did have to make a little Facebook post since I own the page. I couldn't help it, but I did say like, you know, even with my house appraised only 10,000 more than what the offer was. So even if you want me to sell at a higher price bracket, you accept that, it doesn't mean it's gonna appraise. So I just had put a little ditty about like, you know, here's the Somerville, here's what it appraised for, you know, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
I wasn't like condescending, but I was like, I have to make a point here.
Okay, so now you've moved
Yeah.
out of Virginia. So now
And now I realize I need other buckets. Cause I only was farming. That's definitely, I would say, don't get stuck where I'm at where, and that's really all I could handle at that point because I was going through chemo and surgery and all that. So there was no way I could handle more than farming my neighborhood.
Yeah.
But now I realize, you know, I just need other buckets because the neighborhood's getting bigger. And two really heavy hitters that do a lot of business, they did a lot of business in the Place, which is the neighborhood across from me. I live in Verdana. They moved to Verdana, and I know exactly what they're up to, right? And that's what they do. One of the realtors, he literally has moved 12 times. He just moves to new neighborhoods, and he kills it. So I'm like, oh goodness, now I've got some real competition.
But you still have a property in Virginia.
I do have a
Still an
villa.
owner.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'll still be.
Well, and here's the thing too, how many of you have farmed before? Who's farmed before? Okay, so no matter what, when you farm, you're never gonna get 100% of the listings. It's just never, like, you'll never get 100% of them, and until somebody has a complete, like, 20% hold on a neighborhood, they don't really actually own the farm. So, and even when they own it, there's still room for 80% to pick someone else. So, you know, just when it comes to spending money though on farming, if there's somebody with a 20% hold on a neighborhood, it's a tough one to break into and spend money on that farm. So you really wanna do the math on your farm. You wanna look for 6% turnover. So of all the houses in there, it turns over a minimum of 6% per year. If it doesn't turn over that much, the amount of listings you could potentially even get out of there is probably too low to spend the money to generate a farm.
Is there a way to know if somebody else is heavily farming it other than just snooping around?
Well, really honestly, the math is in the numbers, so go look and see who's closed properties in there.
Oh, okay.
And then see if it's all a similar agent or if it's just lots of different agents. So, neighborhoods to farm, now that one's interesting because that's not a first time home buyer price point most of the time where you're at. Cause what's your price point in there?
Probably 50 plus.
Okay, so that's not really your first time home buyer one. A first time home buyer neighborhood is a great neighborhood to farm because those do tend to have more turnover and they tend to move up, right? So that might be their first, like the $300,000 price point, there might be more turnover in a neighborhood like that, 250 for sure. So those have more turnover, they're easier to farm. So because you'll have more opportunities there. Now, this being new and nothing really being under 550, that is the low end of that neighborhood. So that has helped her to get to the production level because you're over 5 million. She's over 5 million in volume. And that's not easy to do, but your price point paid.
I was gonna say it's the price point.
The price point paid. And so here's the thing, you can work harder or you can work smarter. So those of you that are looking for you only have to sell, for the same amount of money that she's making on one, somebody else might have to sell 3 or 2, right? So farming her neighborhood was a brilliant plan because she didn't have to sell as many to get to the price point that she's at. Here's the thing though, was it different to sell somebody a $500,000 house versus $1 million house?
No,
It's the same.
it's the same. And you know, it's funny because when I started, I was taking somebody to look at houses and I think it was, what was it called? I don't remember the neighborhood, but the gentleman who kind of owned that neighborhood, it was condos. He said to me, you know, he was a veteran in real estate, and he said, do not get stuck at my price point. So those were like 200-300 condos. He said, I'm stuck here. I have done it for so long, I cannot get out of this price range. So he said, you're smart. And I really, then, I don't know that it made sense to me, you know, what he was trying to say, and now I get it. And every time I listen to a podcast or I listen to somebody trying to change the trajectory of their price points, it's always the same message, is that you're attracting the same, you know, whatever you're doing, you're attracting that same price point. So, which in my favor, it worked out because, yes, I'm attracting that same price point, but it's a lot more, yeah.
So when I coach people and they tell me that I'm stuck at like 300 or 400 and I want a higher price point, what do you think my advice is if I'm telling somebody to get out of that price point?
Do open houses like at higher price point and then do videos at higher price point is what I would guess, yeah.
You're gonna do videos, you're gonna do open houses, you're gonna promote properties in marketplace, you're gonna do, anything that you talk about, go into the higher price point, share that, use your YouTube channel to talk about listings and higher price points. You will attract people because that's what you're talking about. So he's right. He's selling $200,000 and $300,000 condos because he has to sell them. So all of his marketing is about $200,000 or $300,000 condos. Not that we don't want those, because we definitely want all things. But when you spend all your time promoting that, that's what you get for your leads.
I think branding is important too. You know, coming from the beauty industry, again, I have girls that market luxe brands, right? They did hair and makeup for brides, and the kind of branding and marketing that this girl did, charging $300 for makeup versus the girl over here that did $50 makeup, I mean, it was a completely different type of brand as well. So how you present yourself, and it doesn't mean you have to have a fancy car and fancy clothes. I'm a boy mom of two, like I had a disgusting expedition because there's always nasty stuff in it. So it's not just that you have to have a fancy car and fancy jewelry and but it's just your branding as well. So everything I do, which I know I spend way too much money, even when I did the mailers, I'm like, oh, it has to be my colors and my this and my that. But I think that's important, and I think that attracts a certain clientele.
Well, you're lucky here because you get to all brand yourselves. Like, you can have your own logos, you can have all your own brands. It's not like Century 21, we've got to put Century 21 sign up. Like, that's what you can use. You can't put your own stuff on there, just your name. So you have the flexibility to brand yourself and match maybe that niche of people
I
that
think,
you want.
you know, what's helped too is I've gained the confidence just by some of the things I post on social media, because it's always something new, oh, come and do a wine tasting at the open house, or when I did Soak Up the Village, we rented bounce houses and snow cone machines and did this crazy like 3-house, you know, parade of homes, and it was geared towards, and it was a total flop, but anybody online wouldn't know that. I mean, the branding looked amazing. So I think how you present yourself and your branding, and it's consistent. And I love the organic stuff when people just pop on and look at where I am. That works for some. And then others, I think who I attract tends to be that person who likes, wants a lot of activity, wants to know that I'm really gonna put in the effort to market their property.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually get somebody who's, you know, a business professional.
Okay, so there's one of you, that's a niche. So these people are attracted to your style of doing business. I worked with a lot of military, and they liked the fact that I understood, having been a military wife, that you're coming to town for 1 week to shop for a house, and this is not about perfection. This is about getting into a place quickly and for the best price, and that I probably can make a profit on it when I leave in 4 years. And like, I knew exactly what they were looking for. I wasn't trying to push them into the top of their budget to buy the most expensive house they could afford, because I didn't know if when they left in 4 years they could make up enough money on that. So you have to know your client and what their goal is. These are buyers who eventually then sold it. So you kinda do have to understand what is the goal of what the client wants. You got the people what they wanted, whether or not people think that you're a lowball seller, you got them what they wanted, and they're happy, and they would refer you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, have you gotten any referrals yet?
Like personal referrals, I don't think so. The one divorce sale, he was like, oh, I just saw you're at an open house, and you're like, I think that was just him seeing me, help a neighbor,
Right.
but not a personal referral.
So this is an opportunity for me to now work with her on like creating a referral business, that's another bucket of business.
Yeah,
It's very organic, it'll come out of, these people you've already worked with in Verdana, and who they still know in the neighborhood who would be selling, or who wants to get into the neighborhood, so.
I think too, I became an expert for my neighborhood, so, and people like will reach out, do you know rentals, and do you know this, do you know that? Do you know who the garbage company is? Do you know, just random questions, because I made myself appear, and a lot of times I call my husband, I'm like, are we heat or gas or whatever he is, I don't even know. But I've made myself appear like I know everything in Verdana. So I think when you're gonna farm a neighborhood, that's also something that you wanna do, is really become the expert. If you don't know the answer, it doesn't matter, you'll find it, but getting people to really believe that you are the expert.
So, okay, so she brought up a good point. So in a new construction neighborhood, it's really easy to know all the different like styles of home. We've got the summer build, we've got this, we've got that. In an older neighborhood, just remember, at one point, they were also a new neighborhood with models and specific, types of homes. So even though it's an older neighborhood, you still need to understand, what does the floor plan look in this house? What does the floor plan look like in this house? You should really, if you're farming a neighborhood, you should know all the different floor plans in that neighborhood. What were they called when they were sold 20 years ago? You should know all that. You can find it out. Use the MLS, you can dig, and you can find a lot of information. Your seller will know a lot of things. Some people have that paper from when they first bought the house, which is super helpful. But really just understanding the neighborhood and understanding, like if you were, I wanna do this in here, I wanna play a game called The Price is Right in here for listings. And I think that you guys knowing specific areas would make it easy for you guys to play The Price is Right, because you would know that in a specific neighborhood, this model would go for like this much, this size home would go for that much. That's how well you get to know the market. So if I'm a new agent, whenever I'm doing an open house, I'm gonna research that whole neighborhood so that I'm like super confident talking about the houses I'm up against in this neighborhood. Or what else they might wanna go see in this neighborhood. Oh, there's other floor plans in this neighborhood that are for sale and similar square footage. And maybe you don't like this style, but you might like this style. So you wanna get really comfortable in a neighborhood, and if you're farming it, you for sure better know everything.
Yeah, you need to know the HOA, you need to know food and beverage, you need to know CDD, really know everything that, there's transfer fees, the difference between if you buy new construction versus a resale. That was important for my neighborhood, because new construction, there's a huge contribution fee, so then when you're negotiating a resale, it's like, well, remember that there's this extra fee. Yes, they're giving you more money in closing costs, but a resale, it's almost a flush, because you're not paying that extra capital contribution. So knowing those kind of things for sure.
Does anybody have questions for DeVawn?
I do.
Okay.
You have a particular flyer that you handed out? Is there like a sample of that or something to that effect?
Sure, I can give you all the things that I've used, yeah.
Okay. You can maybe post it on the Facebook page.
Sure.
What do you got, Melissa?
In order to have your successful business, do you have to plug in all the time or just randomly?
All the time. As soon as I got rid of the beauty school up north and I knew like there was no safety net, this is all I did. And the sphere didn't really work for me. And that may not work for you. For some of you it may. So I thought, oh gosh, if that's not gonna work, I better figure out something else. So like I said, I was here 4 days a week and especially from these teams that are doing the kind of volume that they're doing and giving you free information. In the beauty industry, I paid $10,000 and $20,000 for classes, coaching classes, or not necessarily cutting hair or how to do a better facial, but how to profit in a salon and to grow your team. So to get all that stuff for free is amazing. And I feel like even though it was a short time because I was diagnosed, I took every single thing that they told me and I did it.
What were you doing when you were here 4 days a week?
Classes, and then whatever I learned in that class, I would carve out time to do whatever they taught me. So I think it's just like anything, right? A meeting with a client, like carving out time right after to make sure that you follow through with whatever it is that you just learned or you just committed to.
So some of you might have seen Mandy Elliott is doing a class for you guys on social media with Melissa. I would not miss that class. Mandy Elliott's social media is fantastic as well. And she actually was chosen for Beachfront Bargain Hunt based off of her social media. So she just filmed that a few weeks ago, and it will be on TV in November on HGTV. So that her marketing got her that opportunity. And so if you wanna see, she does her own marketing. She doesn't pay anybody. All that marketing that she puts up is Mandy doing it. So she'll tell you how she does it, the tools she uses for it, maybe even the thinking behind why she did some of the posts she's done. We are a company of expert people when it comes to ripping off and duplicating. The whole model of KW is so that you will rip off and duplicate and do it yourself. The same thing, do it yourself. We're gonna go to Mega Camp and we're gonna listen to all these people, including Coastal Luxury Living and Old Florida Dream Team at Mega Camp. They're all gonna share all of these things that they're doing to rooms of 9,000 people. They're gonna do that and not worry that, oh, this is gonna somehow impact my business. We are a company of doing that. So pay attention to the people who are doing things really well and just do what they're doing. So
I also think, I just wanted to add, you have to have a growth mindset. So even though right now it's just you doing everything, social media and this and that, I immediately started farming things out. There was no way I could do all those videos, plus I have no patience. I started farming things out. Haley works with me now and does a lot of things that I just, well, especially when I was homebound doing treatments, I couldn't physically go anywhere. So Haley did a lot of things for me. But start thinking about who is your team. And initially, when I took that class or whatever it was, PCX, I can't remember where they talked about that. I have had a team my whole life, and I thought, are you kidding me? I don't want a team. I'm done managing people. I have managed people my whole life. But it's different. It's really, you're not gonna grow outside of yourself if you don't start thinking about those key people. Whether it's a transaction coordinator, whether it's your video and your content, it is really hard to do all of it once you get going, right? Some of your days will be spent looking for houses, right? And that's an entire day. So now your social media day is gone. So I would definitely start thinking about having this growth mindset, like who can you, even if you have to barter with somebody, right? You have other talents and you can say, hey, I'll do this for you if you can handle my, videos for me. But it's really hard to be a one-man show. Like I couldn't be where I am right now if I wasn't farming those kind of things out.
Those are inexpensive things.
Yeah, I mean, you have Fiverr and all these different companies that do it for so cheap.
The TC piece of it, I was coaching, the reason I'm in this market center is because of Bonnie Chase. She was my client for almost 4 years through Max. And she's like, well, when you move down here, you gotta join the Fort Myers office instead of the Punta Gorda office. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, because Bonnie was here, it made sense. So I joined this office, and I'm glad I did, because I just like this office a lot better than the one I'm in Punta Gorda. But I will tell you that she would not let go of her TC portion of her job. And she'll tell you, I told her for 3 years, you are doing way too much production to be handling it from pending to close. You need to farm that out. You need to get somebody else. And she wouldn't do it, she wouldn't do it, she wouldn't do it. And this year she hired Joey to help her, and she went to Alaska and didn't have to handle a single thing in Alaska. She had to touch base with me 2 times because I was helping her with a couple of things. But other than that, Joey handled everything, and she went on vacation and didn't worry about any of her deals falling apart, didn't worry about anything not closing, didn't worry about anything because Joey took care of everything. And she said, I'm so glad that I finally listened to you and started using a TC because I don't need to do all that stuff anymore. She had it in her head that that was part of her job and they wouldn't like her if she didn't, you know, take it all the way to the closing table. She still took it to the closing table. She just didn't do all the, you know, calling the lenders and calling the title and calling the inspectors and calling the agents and doing that. She just didn't stop doing all of that. So now she has some of her life back and she could go to Alaska for 2 weeks and enjoy it and not be worried that she had all these things that needed to be done while she was gone.
Yeah, and for those of you that are new, a transaction coordinator doesn't get paid until you close. So even if the deal goes sideways, you're not out that money. It's unfortunate for them, but you're not paying until you close. And they're between $300 and $400, and they get all your paperwork straight. I could never, ever be responsible for the dates that are, you know, the inspection period and all the contingencies. There's no possible way.
And Matt appreciates when you have all your compliance done before closing. I gave you a plug, Matt.
Well, I mean, you know, it happens where I get a check and then there's no documents, and that makes myself and more importantly, Adrian and Natasha very sad. So,
Very sad.
That's for you, that's why.
Slightly freaked out.
It's your bonus.
But yeah, so anybody else have questions? I don't know, does anybody on Zoom have questions? Nobody has questions? All right. I appreciate you guys all coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.